Hey, what's happening out there? This is Halftime Prep Talk. I'm Aaron Snyder, sports editor of The Independent, and I'm joined by Mackenzie Bates, sports editor of the Moorhead News, the Grayson Journal, and all of Hill Times.
Yep, good to be here with you guys.
Trifecta media coverage.
We're trying so hard.
Halftime Prep Talk is sponsored by Fannin Automotive Family. Today we're going to have special guests Zack Moore and Ryan Hall, both from East Carter football team, head coach and defensive and offensive lineman there. Remember, you're watching us on dailyindependent.com every Thursday around noon, and you can find us on YouTube and the Independent's Facebook page as well. And if you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see the Zanzi's ticker. You can visit Zanzi's for some great pizza pie on the fly.
That's a good slogan.
Maybe they might steal that from you.
They might make sure they trademark it, though.
That's right,
Yeah.
TM. All right, Mackenzie, you got a little TV background. You're comfortable in front of the camera here.
Yeah, a little
Tell
bit.
us about that.
I'm a Moorhead State graduate of 2009, went through their broadcast journalism program. Got my first job at WYMT TV down in Hazard, Kentucky. Was in news for 1 year and then did sports the following 2 years. So this is a little comfortable, a little enjoyable for me.
Yeah, I mean, you mostly did high school sports down there as well, didn't you?
We did. We had about 54 high schools across hundreds of miles, from as far as Louisa to as south as Middlesboro and Pikeville and everywhere in between, too.
That's amazing, really. I mean, and most people don't realize it's that broad a coverage that WYMT
And it's a lot of driving, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we get plenty of miles throughout those station vehicles, too. But it's a lot of fun. You get to interact with so many different players and coaches and people throughout the community, too. They're very appreciative of everything that WYMT does for the student athletes down in the mountains.
Of course, now the big three schools that you cover are Rowan County, East Carter, and West Carter.
Yeah, that's sort of a little bit. It says you can't go home. Moorhead is in the Rowan County area as well,
Mm-hmm.
so I got a chance to reconnect with some of the old coaches that were there when I was down in Moorhead State for college, and then of course being a part of the university as well, too, covering the events there if I can get to them during the season. See, it's a lot of demanding with East, West, and
Sure.
Rowan too, but I always try to make sure I get involved with Moorhead State and KCU as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Moorhead State, I know they're having their basketball media day, kind of a neat event this week, outdoors in the parking lot.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. They're doing a lot of doing something different this year called Light Up the Lot, where they're going to introduce the men's and the women's basketball teams outside rather than inside Johnson Arena, too. So you're going to get a chance to take a look at what Sean Woods is going to have, and then of course new women's basketball coach Greg Todd, too, coming in there from Transylvania University. He's going to have a lot of fun and bring in some new players as well, too. So it looks like the programs are heading in the right direction down there.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Now you can follow Mackenzie Bates on Twitter at TMNJT Sports, and the TMNJT are capitalized. And let's move on a little bit of recap of the top games of Week 8. First, just another ho-hum 200-yard game for Quentin Baker.
That's it?
274 to be exact.
Okay.
The Ashland Junior galloped his way to 3 touchdowns and a whopping 274 yards in a 48-8 win over Sheldon Clark. Jacob McKee also remembered his magic shoes. Mama says these are my magic
Got the
shoes.
Forrest Gump reference in there. I like it.
Red Devil danced all over the dirt as the quarterback ran for 205 yards in a 38-7 victory.
Could we call it dirt?
Sure.
There's a lot of mud there on the fields on Friday night.
It was sloppy.
It was.
It was sloppy, wasn't it? Maybe pay dirt for him.
There you go.
And then you got down in Paintsville, Darren Sherman, Gabe Burchell, and Trent Childers had huge games. They combined for 45 tackles as the Tigers slowed down Fairview's prolific passing offense just enough to come away with a 36-28 win. Nice win for them.
Absolutely, too. Fairview really hasn't lost a beat given everything that's happened to them last year. Coming back into this season, they're playing very, very well at a high level, and they're hitting their stride at the right time in district play. I know they had the hiccup against Paintsville, too, but there's plenty of football left to play.
Yeah, Paintsville, though, I mean, it's pretty impressive what they've done since Coach Cherico has taken over. Still, the numbers haven't really increased for them. They still only dress 25, 30 guys on the roster. I think they're in the 30s this year. But some really good athletes. I know Davian Belcher came over from Johnson Central But Cash Daniel at quarterback, he also plays linebacker, so he's a tough guy to bring down. Tough guy offensively and defensively. He's been racking up the tackles. So good season for Paintsville so far. Boyd County shrugged a monkey off its back with a 25-20 triumph over Rowan County. Still work to be done, though, to assure itself of a playoff spot come November.
Absolutely, too. Rowan County was able to defeat Greenock County for their first win of the season, too. But Boyd County beating Rowan County earlier this week sort of controls their own destiny in terms of getting a playoff win. Getting actually into the playoffs too, so I know they've got to take care of business these next few weeks. But can't out Rowan County either. I know they've got a tough game this Friday against Johnson Central for their senior night. So the 17 seniors for Rowan County are really going to be fired up for this game on Friday night.
Sure they are. Sure. Other notable scores include that you mentioned Johnson Central. They beat Greenock County 42-0. Lawrence County beat Pike County Central 23-20. Fleming County edged West Carter 22-21. There was a nail-biter there.
Yes, it was. Back in overtime, too, Maverick Burnett was able to find a way in on the two-point conversion. I talked to Kevin Brown Saturday morning. He was telling me he got in, but it was only by the length of the football.
Man, that would have been a huge win for West. It's a nice win for Fleming, too. Those teams went in pretty evenly matched.
Can you look at that district real quick, too, when you look at it. You got Mason
6
County,
teams.
Russell, East Carter, West Carter, Lewis County, and who am I missing?
You said Mason County, didn't you?
Mason, Russell, East, West, Fleming, Lewis. There we go. That district is very, very talented. There are several teams over 500 in that district too. So that's been one of the more impressive districts we've seen throughout the season.
Yeah. East plays Fleming this week. Russell plays Lewis, and West plays Mason. So it's always a dogfight getting into those 4 spots, to squeezing those 4 spots out of 6 teams. That's always tough. Lewis County beat East Carter 36-7. Ironton beat St. Charles 25-24, and Raceland 40, Nicholas County 0. Let's move to the top 3 games of the week.
Okay.
Belfry at Lawrence County is number 3.
You've got the defending Class 3A state champions
Correct.
with the Belfry Pirates too. I know it's a long trek from Belfry to Louisa too, which can always play a factor whether you're being at home or away too. But Belfry, I think, is playing at a high level once again. But they're always playing at a high level year in and year out. Coach Philip Haywood, the winningest coach in the entire state of Kentucky football history. He's always going to have his kids prepared no matter who they play, whether it be a Trinity or a St. X, or when they go to play Lawrence County on Friday too. So you can't ever count them out in any type of game.
Now, when you were at WYMT, I'm sure you covered them some. What's the atmosphere like down there in Belfryville?
The Pond Creek Nation is one of the most rabid fan bases in all of Kentucky, and same thing that I've covered throughout the years too, is that they always find an excuse to throw a party. Whether it's during pregame tailgates, I used to go over there quite often whenever I got sent out to go to games, and I always make sure to stop by and say hello to everybody, and they always welcome you in and feed you. They had a Polish sausage wrapped in bacon one time, and that it's extremely good for you and extremely bad for you at the same time. But they're wonderful people, and Coach Philip Haywood is one of the most sound guys offensively and defensively when it comes to coaching his kids up to, and does it with class.
Yes,
that's the best thing that I like about Philip Haywood the most. Is that he is one of the classiest coaches. I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, Ashland went down to Belfry, and Ashland had scored a touchdown but missed the extra point. And when late in the game, Belfry was driving, and Ashland had ran out of timeouts, and there was about a minute left in the ball game, and Belfry was down at the 2-yard line. But instead of punching it in, all Philip Haywood did was take a knee to end the ball game. Rather than pad stats for a player, he had the margin enough to win a ball game, and that's exactly what he did. And I think that's the epitome of class.
Yeah, that instance right there really exemplifies who he is. And that's why he's been in it so long. That's why he's been so successful. You got 2 one-loss teams here, Belfry and Lawrence. Another classy coach, and Coach Cecil is really doing a good job with the Bulldogs. The Pirates, they're still even receiving some first-place votes there, Class 3A. They're number 2 in the AP poll this week. I think Lawrence County, like you said, could be a tough environment. Belfry did lose to Pikeville earlier this year, which is, wow, it says a lot for Pikeville. Not so much
Pikeville's very, very good this year.
says anything about Belfry
Absolutely.
that much, but it says a lot for Pikeville. I think Belfry takes care of business though here, don't you?
I do too, but I think it's going to be closer than what people think. Maybe by touchdown, 10 points at most.
Number 2, Lewis County at Russell. Maybe lost some luster compared to the way it was viewed heading into the season. Lewis County's dealing with some key injuries, with Isaac Weddington, their quarterback, out, among others. But still an important district game. Lewis County kind of hung tough with Mason County a couple weeks ago, 19-14. Russell still trying to retain its perfect district record. What do you got?
I go back to the Ashland game between Ashland and Russell, and I have said it all along, and people that I've talked to out in the community and people that I work with too, is that I think TJ Maynard has awakened the sleeping giant that is the Russell Red Devils. Being a Raceland graduate myself, it was very difficult watching Coach Maynard put on the maroon and gold, but at the same time too, I understand why he did it, and he has done an excellent job in his first year at Russell, going out and beating Ashland, and then basically running the table so far in Class 3A District 6. I'm very, very impressed with what he's been able to do. I think Russell has a lot of offense and a lot of options there to try to maintain its high level of play against Lewis County on Friday.
Put up some outstanding numbers against Mason County, beating them 38-7, so I'm going to go Russell as well.
Yep.
Number 1, Raceland at Fairview.
That was a good segue, wasn't it?
Raceland grad, so you're going to go Rams, aren't you?
Yes, that's pretty much the easiest way to say it too. I really like Coach Sammons. He's been a good friend over the years too, and the way he's off.
Yeah.
I think it was the right decision to put him as the head coach of my beloved Rams. So at the same time too, this is always a wonderful game. Everybody gets revved up for it. Both communities are very,
They
very
could be
passionate about
0-7
football.
apiece, and it'd still be
Absolutely, this is going to be
wild scene.
a well attended game for sure. But I do believe the Raceland Rams are going to be able to come out with another district victory.
I think the Eagles, I think they could pull it off in Westwood, but the Snyder curse could be in effect once again. Whoever I pick in this game typically loses. Whoever I pick typically loses in this game. And that's definitely been the case the past 2 years. I've always gone with the last 2 years anyway, I've gone with the away team, and I don't know why I do that. I go in the press box and everybody's, why would you pick them? Why'd you pick them? I don't know why I do that to myself. I'm going to do it again. I'm going Raceland. I guess I'm going for punishment. I'm going to go the Rams. I think they have too much firepower on not only offense but defense. Fairview likes to air it out. Raceland's strongest point of that team is still defensive backfield. And Connor Messer, Maverick Dixon, and Josh Young and those guys, I think, will make enough plays. Fairview keeps it close, but Raceland makes enough plays to win.
Would they be considered the Legion of Boom in this area?
The Legion of Boom, I'm sure they would love that.
I think I like the way they do it. Even though Seattle got gashed by Dallas earlier in the week, I do believe that you said the strong part of Raceland's defense is their secondary, and I think it's the same thing with Seattle as well.
That's true. All right, let's move on to game balls. Prop bucket.
Okay.
All right. My game ball this week is going to go to Jacob McKee. Russell quarterback. There are question marks surrounding the position before the season began. McKee knows his limitations, in terms of airing it out. He knows he might not have the strongest arm out there in the area, but you know what? He gets it done every week, and his accuracy has improved. Really, as far as his versatility goes, he knows no limitations. The way he's been running the ball has been very impressive. Put up some remarkable numbers, as I mentioned before, 205 yards against Mason County. And he really, they were struggling a little bit against Boyd County, and he put that offense on his back. Credit to the offensive line as well, but Jacob McKee, guided that offense to a win against Boyd County a few weeks ago when they could have folded in that game against a team they should have won. So McKee gets the game ball this week for his performance against Mason. Handoff.
This is going to be very, very easy for me. I'm going with Quentin Baker of Ashland. I mean, you mentioned that his 274 yards in their win against Sheldon Clark earlier in the week. I told you this earlier, but I do believe that Quentin Baker is the DeMarco Murray of this area, and the fact that he's had some very good years too, but he's having a breakout year.
How about that Cowboy?
Yeah, well, he said it, not me. I do believe that, with the way Murray's leading the league in rushing, and he's been basically handling that offense so well. You hear about Tony Romo and everything that he's been able to do and his inconsistencies in the past few years, but the one constant is Murray as he's running the football, and he had over 100 yards against the Seattle defense earlier this week, and I think that Baker is mimicking the style of Murray in the terms of the way he's playing right now too. So yeah, I've got to give it to Quentin Baker at this point.
Man, deserving guy to get that. He's like you said. You mentioned the consistency. You know what you're going to get from him every week. His numbers climb every week, but you know what you're going to get.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to bring in Zack Moore in just a moment from East Carter. Come back to HTPT for the interviews. Here with Zack Moore, East Carter's head football coach since 2011. Coach Moore, great to have you on the show.
Glad to be here.
Now, like I said, you've been the Raiders coach for 4 years now. You had a stint at Kentucky Christian University, or Morehead State for a while as well. How long were you an assistant at Morehead before you went to KCU?
I was an assistant for 8 seasons at Morehead State.
And then you went to KCU and was an assistant there, and then head coach for how long?
I was head coach for a year and a half, and then I was an assistant coach there and defense coordinator for 2.
Okay. Now, making the switch from college to high school, what was that like at first?
It was frustrating at first. You don't get the time that you get with a college football team and the access to the players 24 hours a day if you want it or need it. So that was what I really struggled with the most. And it wasn't with players because, I think football is essentially football, and I think, building relationships with college players as well as high school is pretty much the same. But I think it's the time restraints and the fact that, you don't get all day to game plan and to prep. You have to do it in a very short period of time, and a lot of it is your free time, and that too can, that can present its own set of challenges.
Sure. I know I know you have a family. You're involved with your family and everything, and you actually coach your daughters in basketball, don't you?
I do.
So you talk about free time. You probably don't have a whole lot of it.
No, there's not a lot of it, but there are certainly a few other things I'd rather be doing rather than I love coaching football and I love spending time with my family, and if I can combine those two and coach a little bit while I'm doing it, that's just double bonus.
Sure. Now, originally you played high school football in Knoxville.
I did. So
and then you came to Morehead State. So Tennessee Volunteer. You a Tennessee Volunteer fan?
You don't live in Knoxville, Tennessee, and not be. That's for sure.
So what do you think? Do you think they're on the rise there with Butch?
I think they're doing well. I mean, the key in college football is getting the players, and they're getting the players. I don't think at really any level you're going to win with a roster dominated, especially your 2 deep roster dominated with true freshmen playing, and I think that's a challenge they're facing right now. But even though they've lost some tight ones here the last few weeks, I know as a fan it's been a lot more enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, and Kentucky Tennessee is going to be interesting for you, isn't it? I'm sure it usually is.
Well, I mean, for 26 years it was pretty much a good. But I mean, now it's things have gotten real, so it's something that it's good to Kentucky's credit and the kind of Tennessee's demise. But now they're both on the rise, and they're both a lot more enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Much better football teams.
You guys this year off to an 0-7 start. I know you guys have dealt with a lot of inexperience this year. Had a winless season there in 2011, but there were a handful of real close outcomes that season, right. So it's a little different. For the most part this season, the games have been mostly one-sided.
They have.
Are seasons like this just bound to happen, do you think? Or, I mean, is it just something you kind of have to deal with every few years at East Carter?
Right. Well, I think that's an interesting comparison between our 2011 team and this year's team. And in 2011, we were junior dominated.
Mm-hmm.
So while we were trying to develop a new type of culture and the work ethic that we were brought in and wanted to instill in our players, I think there was some learning curve there, as well as what was going to be acceptable, what was not, and some attrition that during the course of the season. Like you said, there were some really tight football games in there, and so it kind of gave them a little bit more an easier, let's say, view of that light at the end of the tunnel. This year has been completely different. It's a different team, obviously, and it's when you're dealing with as many inexperienced players as we have, and we've even got some 11th graders that are first-year players. Not that they've even been on a team. This is the first year they've played, and so they've been forced into action. And so they have been one-sided, And what it forces you to do, I think, as a football team, both coaches and players, is you have to take the positive out of whatever happens, and we really have to build off of that. Of course, we have to, correct our mistakes, but if we spend all our time looking at the negative and looking at all the mistakes, and that's all we concentrate on, a negative culture begins to develop. And I don't sense that from our coaches and players right now. As coaches and players both alike, have done a great job. Staying as positive as you can during 0-7, because it's frustrating. Everybody's frustrated, and listen, there are times, and I'm sure they want to kill us, and we want to kill them. But I think for people that are in our locker room, they know exactly what we're trying to get accomplished and the growth that we've made up to this point.
Yeah, and you knew going into the season, we talked about it a little bit, the inexperience you were going to have to deal with. You mentioned 6 seniors, 8 juniors, the rest sophomores, freshmen. Going into a season like that, does that change your approach as a coach? I mean, you have to tell yourself, I've got to remain upbeat the whole season. I mean, does that kind of change your approach going in?
Oh, it does. I mean, I think that the road was paved with good intentions. There's no doubt, and you tell yourself that all the time. But the competitive nature of the game, and of course, as a coach, it's really difficult to stay like that sometimes. And so I think we have to kind of recalibrate our efforts back in that direction sometimes, because it is very frustrating, not just for coaches but for players as well. And it has been easier not losing as years has gone on, but I think that our goals, we've adjusted our goals, because you have to. I mean, if you still have these lofty high expectations, and you're not having the success you want to have, you have to change it. It still can be a more long-term goal, but you have to change the short term. And so I think after we've done that and have communicated that clearly to our players, that the atmosphere has been a lot more positive.
Obviously, you don't set out a goal to lose, but I mean, or that the outcome is losing anyway. But like you said, the adjustments game by game, is that something you guys do? Like, let's keep the game within 2 touchdowns. Is that something you do, or is it still? I mean, I'm sure you still aim to win, but
we haven't even really talked about scores. We've talked more about just, we're a play-by-play. It's not even a game-by-game. It's just play-by-play. And, Noah, we've really emphasized that, live in the present, learn from the past, but don't let the negative things that have happened in the past linger. So, again, we've not really set a good goal if we just want to keep it within this score or that score. We just think that however we perform each individual play, the final score is going to reflect our performance, and then we evaluate it after the game's over.
There still have been plenty of bright spots for you guys, I think, and one of them this past week against Lewis County was Dalton Witt, just a sophomore, right? And he comes through with 9 solo tackles, 5 tackles for a loss, a couple sacks, an interception. What is a performance like that from a sophomore on a team that has been struggling? What does that say about him and the team still?
I think that the effort is still there. I mean, I can say a lot of things about our team, but to say that we haven't been given the effort would be a complete lie. They have. They play extremely hard, and we just haven't played extremely well. And I think that what it says most of the time, or not most of the time, all the time, Dalton, when he played within the structure of our defense and simply did his job and did it the best he possibly could, that he made plays. When you start trying to do your own thing or play outside the structure of offense, defense, special teams, whatever you want to talk about, then you're just going to start talking about giving up bigger plays. And that's what happened to us a little bit early in the season. We got frustrated because maybe we were, maybe they were getting some drives put together on us or whatever you might say there, but we started trying to do our own thing, and it just made things worse. And that's when the games get out of hand. And so it's, I think that's what it says the most, is there's a guy that's playing as hard as he can. He's playing within the structure of what we're trying to do, and his performance reflects that.
You personally, have you always been kind of a defensive-minded guy?
Absolutely, I have. I always enjoyed playing defense. I coached offense one year at Morehead State, and it wasn't my most enjoyable year at Morehead State, so I moved back to defense immediately. And so I think some people are just turned different ways. It's not that I don't enjoy coaching offense. I think it's a different type of coaching. think, a little bit more strategy because it's a proactive side of football, and you can kind of dictate how things are going to, you can dictate a defensive strength, you can dictate how their coverage is going to roll. The defense being purely reaction, you have to, your guys, I think, have to be able to adjust quickly. And so be more, I don't want to say be more aggressive, but again, the mindset of a linebacker is a lot different than the mindset of a quarterback. I mean, people will say quarterbacks with linebacker mentality. Well, until I see a quarterback playing linebacker, you're not going to sell me on that one.
We talked about this a little bit before we came on the set. East Carter, Boyd County, Greenup County are three that come to mind that have excelled in several other sports but have struggled in football in recent years. What's your opinion on that, and what do you think could change at those schools to change that?
Right. I think that I'm sure they're three completely different. While they kind of maybe share recent history, but I think, looking back at Boyd County, I know during the 70s that they were, very powerful football program, and I'm sure a lot of things.
Greenup County had some good teams then.
They did as well, and I'm sure that a lot of that might be due to some of the industry that has left the area, and so some of the population has shifted or moved around. Being at East Carter for 4 years, and I've tried to ask as many people about the history of the program as I possibly could, and I think we're in our 43rd or 44th year. I can't really remember off the top of my head, but we've got one district championship in those 40-some years. So the football, it's never really been, I guess what we would call a football school. And I think that if you ask former players, it has been, but that's the way it should be. But I think if you look back at the records, and I look at our record against other opponents, like you all put out in the preview every single year, I think there are only 3 programs that we own a winning record against all time. And most of them aren't even close to being 500 or evenly split. And, in the past, I don't have been. I think that right here and now, what we're seeing is just it's cultural. I do think that the males that are, I think in most communities, I talk to a lot of football coaches, they all essentially say the same thing, but it's, I don't want to say that they are softer, but I want to say that they tend to take the path of least resistance. And I think that, I played baseball and basketball in high school as well, and I love those sports. But at the same time, I know that I never had to put on 20-some pounds of equipment in 90-degree heat and practice twice in a day. And I know that I never felt like I did after playing a basketball game or baseball game like I did the morning after I played a football game.
Right.
And it's continual abuse on your body. I think it takes a different kind of person to want to play football and to stay with it and do it well. And, I'm just not sure right now if we're developing males with that kind of mindset. And that's nothing against the families. I think kids ought to play what they want to play. But I think that you always see a lot of negativity within the media too right now with football talk. All you hear about are concussions and the negative that goes along with it. And we're talking about NFL athletes that those are high impact guys. These are the world's best athletes. And they get paid millions of dollars for a reason. It's high risk. And I think that there's an inherent risk once you go into football, especially professionally, to say 20 years down the road, I'm not going to be the person I am now. And so I think a lot of it has to do with that too. A lot of moms, especially, and dads aren't allowing their children to play football because they see the negativity that surrounds it. But, I think it's hard to pinpoint a game that really stresses teamwork anymore. You've got 11 guys at one time that have to be doing their job to make something work. It's not saying that it happens very often, because a lot of times it doesn't. But then even those 11 are part of a team of 50 to 80 other guys.
Right.
And not only that, but you've got maybe 3 teams within that one team, JV and freshmen, and you've got a smaller group of coaches now than there ever have been, trying to work with that many guys and trying to center everybody's efforts in one direction and getting every single one of those guys to understand they have a role to make the whole organization successful. And Ryan and I actually talked about it on the way over, and just how some of our selfishness has taken over. It seems like here within the past 10 years, and being a me-first society, and I want it now, I want it quick, and it's all I, me. It's not what's best for everybody. It's what's best for me. So I think those are just some of the things, and that's just something I think as a high school football coach right now that we all work against.
Oh yeah,
there's not a coach in the area I don't think that faces the same challenges, but I think that in our community, again, to get back specifically to us, I think all of those things combined, I think that the lack of sustained success over a long period of time makes it difficult. I think that East Carter and most county schools have their ups and downs.
Yeah.
They're going to have flashes when, you get a couple good classes to come through and they have good years, but then, and again, we haven't been able to achieve this goal, but we wanted to make the peaks as high as we could get them, but the valley's just not as low. And so that is still a work in progress, and we have a lot of work to do, but that's where we're going.
You mentioned the challenges. There's a long list nowadays of challenges for high school football coaches, high school coaches, teachers in general, and even parents, but especially with social media and things like that. And I'm sure you guys deal with that. I don't know if you have a policy or anything as a football coach or a team, but social media is something you have to deal with as well, isn't it?
It is, and it's a lot easier, as everybody knows, to type something into your phone or on your computer or iPad than it is to say it to somebody's face.
Yeah.
And there's so much venting that I think that goes on, especially following games when emotions are still raw. When the best thing you can do is just put your phone down and sleep on it.
Yeah.
And our rule is, we have 24 hours. You've got 24 hours to celebrate it. You've got 24 hours to feel sorry for yourself. And then after that, we're moving on. And if most people would just, put the phones down, turn them off, and and just be responsible. And I think that's one thing we've tried to tell our guys. I'm not saying don't have a Twitter account or don't get on Facebook, but don't do anything to jeopardize your teammates. And again, I think it goes back to being selfish. Is it just about what you want, or is it about what's best for your football team?
All right, Coach. It was great to have you on the HTPT set. We're going to bring in Ryan Hall. He's going to take your spot in the hot seat here.
Hey, I'm sure he'll have that.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, we're bringing in Ryan Hall, senior at East Carter. Started at West Carter and now a Raider. So, got to ask you about that first of all. You're in your third year starting, but your first year was at West as a sophomore. The last two at East. What's that been like? Just crossing over Carter line there.
When I was playing for Coach Brown and stuff, it was we had a different mentality going on. It was more about playing both sides of the ball. You had different expectations from different coaches. And playing for Coach Moore, it was a big step up. I'll say that, because he expects a lot more than most coaches. And it was a big step up also for taking on the team and other players. Taking on bigger responsibilities. Coming in as a junior, starting, it was a bit different. A good change. So.
What was that first East-West game like as a junior?
There was a lot of talk going on that game, and it was more hate talk. I'll say that. But we were friends. We were friends afterwards.
Good.
It was a bit sketchy. I'll say that.
During the game?
Yeah. It was.
Now that one turned. How did that one turn out?
We won the first one, 23-21 was the final score of that game, and that was at home that was at East that game, so it was something to play for a lot. Also the barrel and stuff like that.
Sure, it had to be a good feeling for you to win that game.
Yeah, first time playing against them and stuff, it was a good feeling.
Yeah. Now I know as a senior here, you guys have struggled a bit. You have a small senior group, just 6 of you. 0-7 right now, and of course I know you would have liked to have beaten West Carter in that last try, but still 3 games left. What would you like to see from not only the team but yourself, just the last 3 games of the season?
Well, like you said, 0-7 right now. Probably playoffs is out of the question maybe. So I just like to see the selfishness and stuff like that just be wiped out, because 3 games left. I don't really want to go out 0-10 my senior year. So I'd like to see everyone playing to their full potential. I mean, because I know I'm going to be playing to my full potential like I have the past season. So I just think if everyone puts out what they should and what they need to, I think we could do a lot in these 3 games. So.
Offensive and defensive linemen, which way do you like to play better? Which side?
I like defense. I mean, getting to hit somebody. I mean, you're hitting somebody on offense, but there's not a lot of more thinking to it. Because offense, you got plays.
Mm-hmm.
Defense, I mean, we do have techniques. We do have blitzes, stuff like that
Mm-hmm.
going on. But defense, it's a lot tougher to play. You have to want to play defense. Offense, it's more about thinking and stuff like that. And then defense, you just have to want to be out there and hit somebody. So.
You're probably putting a smile on your coach's face by saying you like defense better. Now, the perception that East Carter has, does East Carter football, is that, in Grayson they don't care about football. What would you say to that? Some people have that view, I think.
There's a school-wise, coming from me, listening to the talk in school and stuff, I mean, there's, like Coach Moore, he said before, there's 50-some players on the team, there's 5 coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Right there, I mean, those are the people that believe the most on the football team and out of, what we could do. I mean, I ain't going to say that there ain't people that have faith in us, but it's
Sure.
coming from them. I mean, we go out there every day, put our equipment on. I mean, it's up to us, I mean, to bestow, I guess, faith in the school and stuff like that. So.
Being a senior, I'm sure you're thinking of some plans after high school. What are your plans after high school?
Well, I want to go to college. I mean, I haven't really made my mind up where just yet, but I do want to further my education and.
Do you know what you might want to study?
Athletic training, I think is what I'm going to try and study.
Cool. All right, moving on to the triple option here. I'm gonna ask what 3 of your favorites are. What's your favorite TV show?
Big Bang Theory.
It's a good one. Who's your favorite athlete, any sport?
Any sport. I do like Adrian Peterson because of the stuff he's going through right now. It's just going to show how much character he's going to have to come out and overcome all the obstacles he has right now.
Always been a tough guy on the field.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite subject in school?
History.
History. Anything specific? American history, world history?
American history.
American history.
That's my favorite.
All right. All right, I'm not going to put you on the spot and ask you any trivia.
All right. That's a good thing.
I was going to ask you who the 15th president of the United States is, but I don't want to.
15th president?
Yeah.
No.
That's a tough one. What about 16?
Abraham Lincoln.
There you go. He passed. All right, Ryan. It was great to have you on. Thanks for coming down. You and Coach Moore. Good luck to the rest of the season.
Thank you.
All right, back to HTPT. We are bringing in Mackenzie Bates once again. What's in store for you this weekend and next week?
Well, with everything that's going on with the district tournaments for soccer, how they started earlier this week, we're going to be anticipating the region draw to figure out who's going to make it to the state tournament. You can really gauge who might make it out of the brackets but when you see the draw, but anything can happen in those particular things too. The regular season volleyball for volleyball is ending this week, and district tournament starts the following week too. So we're going to be very busy with that over the next few weeks or so too. But this Friday I will be in Moorhead for the Rowan County versus Johnson Central football game. It's senior night for the Vikings too. So that'll be an exciting time for them and sort of a bittersweet moment as they play their final game at Paul Loosley Field.
October, as I mentioned a couple weeks ago, it's a fun month. It's one of my favorite months, but it's a busy one for us.
Absolutely.
Especially this couple of week stretch we're in right now with district and region tournaments in soccer and volleyball both. What do you think? Who do you think's the favorite in let's go boys region soccer?
You got to go with Rowan County and Boyd County at this point too. With East Carter is obviously in the mix with that as well. All 3 teams are playing really at a high level at this point of the year, which is what you want to do heading into the postseason as well too. All 3 teams look to be in the hunt for a regional championship.
Yeah, those three teams, maybe a dark horse could be Ashland. They're on the outside, but I would probably pick East Carter, to be honest with you. If I had to make a pick right now, I think I'd go the Raiders. And, they pulled off the big trifecta for them this year, beating Russell, Boyd, and Ashland in the same season. So they're riding high with confidence, and they should be. Girls, you have to go with Russell, don't you?
Yeah, Russell is very, very good at this point, too. I know they're getting votes inside the top 25 throughout the state as well, too. But you can't count out a team like East Carter, too. They're playing at a high level as well. And West Carter, they've got a prolific scorer, obviously, in Kaylee Johnson. Depending on the outcome of Wednesday's game or not, she could become the single season leading scorer in West Carter girls soccer history, too. She's got 38 goals, which is tied with Amber Buckley out there, too. So can't really count out them, but of course Rowan County's playing well, too. They're getting healthy at the right time, which means if they're at full strength, they've got just as good a shot of anybody to beat any of those teams.
Ashland's girls are playing about as well as they have all season. Charity Collins just netted her 100th career goal, which is only the second Lady Cat to do so. The other was Sarah Loman. So pretty interesting there to see how that might turn out. District volleyball, I know you'll probably be covering the 62nd.
Yep, I've got the 62nd and 61st too. Rowan County's in the 61st district championship because there's a 3-team district, so they've got to buy into the championship as well as the regional tournament as well too. East and West Carter are playing at a high level too. West Carter's volleyball team, they're close to 20 wins, which would be a first in program history too. That could double their win total, which is from a year ago and a couple of years ago as well too. So they're playing well too. I saw East Carter play earlier this week. They played very well against Fairview, and I think
swept them. Didn't
they swept them 3-0 on Monday night. So you got a chance to watch those two teams play. The district's at West Carter this year too, so you never know what's going to happen there.
Yeah. All right, let's go to our 2 for the road. I'm going to go Brian Hoyer. Of starting quarterbacks, he is tied for the fewest interceptions. Who would have predicted that at this point in the season with only 1? And he's 8th in QB rating with a 99.5. Just a couple of months ago, he was that stray, mangy, pumpy dog nobody wanted, and now people were looking for little Brian Hoyer jerseys to dress their dogs up for Halloween, I think. Maybe their little kids.
He's been very exciting to watch, too, and I'll admit I was expecting Johnny Manziel to be the starter.
Well, we kind of just had a little conversation here in the sports department about, when do you think Johnny Manziel will take over? And I'm pretty sure I said week 2. But Brian Hoyer, I should have known better because, he showed glimpses last season. He played 2 or 3 games before he got hurt and played very, very well in those games. And he's really picked it up this season, picked up where he left off, and been a great starter. And, most probably thought Bernie Kosar would be the last great quarterback in Cleveland, but maybe Brian Hoyer will be. Maybe he'll be remembered for a long time. So that's my 1 for the road, Brian Hoyer.
That's good stuff. I'm going to go with the college route too, and pick on the Kentucky Wildcats for a little bit too. They are 5-1. Who did you think they would be 5-1 at this time of year?
No, I did not.
They are playing outstanding football, and they're doing it the way SEC teams do, and that's playing defense. They had 3 turnovers for touchdowns last week against UL Monroe. They have a very difficult game this week when they go to Baton Rouge at Death Valley at night against LSU. But LSU is not LSU this year too. When you look at the AP rankings, even though they don't mean a whole lot this time of year, Kentucky's ranked 29th in the country. LSU is 27th. So this game could pretty much be a wash. But then when you look at what's going on next week, when Mississippi State, the #1 team in the country, comes to Lexington, CBS has already announced they're going to be at that game for a 3:30 kickoff, which is amazing. And when it comes to looking at Kentucky, and in the second year of Mark Stoops and what he's been able to do in recruiting and getting his kids to play at a high level too, that's very, very exciting for Big Blue Nation and the Commonwealth as well. When you look and you have a chance to play the #1 team in the country on a select spot on a major network at home, with a possibility, if they beat LSU, college game day rolling into Lexington.
Hey.
You never know.
Now you're talking.
Yeah.
I know the Kentucky fans will be excited about Sam Ponder coming in.
Yeah, who wouldn't?
So the Wildcats, what a time. We got Friday night, Big Blue Madness, and there's hardly anybody even talking about it. People are talking football in the Commonwealth right now, which is refreshing.
Yeah, it's a good change, too. I'll admit, I knew Big Blue Madness was upon us, but I did not realize it was on Friday.
Yeah.
because we are so focused on football right now and what could happen. They're firmly entrenched in the SEC East divisional race to get to Atlanta.
They are, and the fact that they played so well with Florida on the road needs to still be in their minds, because mentally they can roll into LSU, a confident team, knowing that they could go to an environment like the Swamp. They can go into Death Valley and maybe pull off a victory.
I don't think this team is intimidated by anybody they play on the rest of the schedule.
All right, Mackenzie, great to have you on. Another installment of HTPT. Remember, Halftime Prep Talk is sponsored by Fannin Automotive Family. I want to thank East Carter coach Zack Moore and Ryan Hall for joining us. Come back to dailyindependent.com next week for HTPT.